Hello, everyone, and welcome to Coffee with Cannon. Uh, on this day after Christmas, it's a little bit of a letdown after the holidays, right? The buildup is so huge, and then all of a sudden, the next day comes, and you're like, "What am I going to do now?" Keep visiting friends and saying hello to family members, and the worst is eating. Oh my God, I got to chill out. That's why I think people come up with these New Year's resolutions because you just go out of control eating during the holidays. Pauline Buckles, hello. Candy Scarrett, good morning. Peter Pranzo, Lieutenant Pete, how are you? Good to see you in the chat. Factual breakdown, of course. Uh, some people are just waking up now. Where's our folks from across the pond? North Florida, Gary. I wish I was in Florida right now. Good morning, North Florida, Gary. Cindy Marie, hello. Joe Kane, 84, as usual. Captain Joe Kane, Finest Financial. Good to see you, Joe. Hope you had a great Christmas day. And the day after is a little bit, of a letdown. You're not sure what to do yet. Um, so now what do we have to look forward to? I guess the next big holiday is Christmas Eve, right? Christmas in Times Square. My God, I don't know who would go. I know for sure that the mounted unit's going to be there. They talk about how are they going to, they may even call off a lot of the Times Square. The people, all the nutty people that go to Times Square for New Year's Eve. I have no idea why anyone would do that. Here's a little report on the security for Times Square for New Year's Eve, and they talk about our friends in the mounted unit.
Taxis and pedestrians, you can still find some horses. This is the NYPD mounted unit out on the streets. They're often in Times Square. Today, they are riding with Santa, who's drawing a fair bit of attention, but mostly it's the horses that draw the crowds.
I could just stand here and I'll just have like a whole bunch of people come up to me and ask me all sorts of questions. I've had people like cry to me and I'm just standing there and listening. It's almost like therapy in a way.
Officer Edwin Aguilar was raised in the Bronx and had never been on a horse before he applied for a post with the mounted unit. He rides Thor, and the two even made the Police Foundation's annual calendar that raises money for the NYPD canine and equine units.
In the beginning, I would say it's like very surreal. You're like, wow, I'm on a horse. And then like after a while, you become so comfortable with it. It's like almost nothing just walking through. It's like a routine day walking through Times Square with your horse.
Inspector Barry Geldman and Fantin have been a team for almost 14 years.
Everybody loves to see the police horses, and we're very visible. So when we're out, if there's anything going on, we could direct pedestrians.
The horses have been ridden throughout the pandemic. They have never taken a break. Even last New Year's Eve, when Times Square was a frozen zone, the mounted unit was here.
We were sitting on 7th Avenue and 44th Street in the middle of Times Square by ourselves. And you never see that again. It's a once-in-a-lifetime experience.
But this year, the ball drop will be a spectacle. The horses on site helping officers see above the crowds and helping those in need see an officer who is 10 feet high. In Times Square, Lauren Glassberg, Channel 7 Eyewitness News.
I couldn't resist doing that. I just had to make my horse sound. Horses are very effective in the city when they let the police use them. They were conspicuously absent from all the riots they had last year. Rachel Williams, both my kids are quarantined in their rooms with COVID. I'm awaiting my PCR results. Had to drive to the airport to do that yesterday. Needless to say, it's been a weird, folks, I'm so sorry about everyone that's been affected by COVID during this holiday. My good buddy Duty Ron, his whole family has it. It just destroys your holiday, and not just that. You feel horrible. I don't know. The symptoms, of course, of the cough and the fever and the flu-like symptoms, but it's a lot of people have it. And as I said yesterday, many times, I think we are all going to get it eventually. It's not something we can avoid. And, whether you're vaccinated, unvaccinated, I think that the thing is, if you're vaccinated with the booster shot, you have less a chance of severe symptoms. But what do we got here? Salty Sea Amber Alert just issued for 3 kids in North Carolina, one abductor who kidnapped 3 children, Silver Chevrolet Trailblazer, license number Thomas Henry Peter 5737, possibly headed toward Raleigh. Okay, we'll keep that in mind. Coach, hi Bill. Hope you had a great Christmas and your wife could enjoy. I'm in Florida, 80 degrees. Love it. My sister is in Fort Myers, and she of course had to tease us yesterday by sending pictures of her and her husband on the beach, which is great. Uh, as the cold weather hits the Northeast, we'll be like, I want to go to Florida. I want to move down to Florida. So who had did all the folks that aren't sick, that aren't have the Omicron variant? Did everyone have a good Christmas? Anyone want to share anything with us with the police off the cuff coffee with Ken and family? Crystal Champion, yeah. Ed Wallace, who is the co-host with Duty Ron. Duty Ron told me he's got hit real hard with it. He's in the hospital, but not only does he have Omicron, but he has pneumonia with it, which can be potentially dangerous. So prayers for Ed Wallace, 100%. Yeah, that's Ed Wallace. That's Duty Ron's co-host. He's from the crime scene unit. Real smart guy. Let's all say a prayer for Ed Wallace that he gets better. He gets better quickly. This is very uncomfortable little disease to have. Look, Joe Murray, when he had it, he was really suffering, and he spent some days in the hospital. And luckily, he got rid of it, and he healed from it. Eddie Stackpole, yeah, they're finally coming up with some therapeutic pills for COVID. I don't think it's out yet, but we're hoping that it comes out shortly. We have I have a little doctor that could talk about the symptoms of Omicron. Let me just cue this up for you guys. We'll share the screen.
The authorized COVID pills?
Well, that's a really great question. As those pills roll out, I can imagine that we're going to stop giving these monoclonal antibodies as first-line treatment for those that we think need them. Remember, the Regeneron and the bamlanivimab was being used extensively early on in the pandemic once they became available for those that were early on in their symptoms but weren't mounting an immune response, weren't vaccinated, getting great response. However, we're finding those 2 agents are not really that effective with the Omicron. They're not binding to that spike receptor. Remember, it's the spike protein that the antibodies bind to. So now we have this 3rd agent, the sotrovimab right now, and that one appears to work against the Omicron. We'll still have that in our possession. However, like you said, now that we have the Pfizer antiviral protease inhibitor, that's going to be our go-to drug as people coming in that are not hospitalized but are still infected, and we want to get a jump on them. So we'll see what happens as this rolls out, but I definitely think we're going to be transitioning to that Pfizer medication.
Okay. Well, are the symptoms of an infection caused by the Omicron variant different than any of the other variants?
Well, they're certainly less severe. We know that you're going to have typical fever, sore throat, runny nose, body aches, headache. You may have the loss of taste and smell, although not as much with the variant. Interestingly, one of the symptoms we're finding is just loss of appetite. 100% loss of appetite. Kind of hard during the holidays, but we're seeing that with Omicron. People just do not want to eat. They become anorexic, so to speak. They have loss of total appetite. We're seeing that as a early symptom in the Omicron. Also some GI symptoms, nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea as well that we're seeing with Omicron.
All right. Well, our viewer question is from Juana in Rancho Cucamonga. And Juana says she's planning a Christmas dinner with 17 people, 3 of whom haven't been vaccinated. She asks, should everyone get tested? And if so, when? Although, are there tests even available at this point?
That's a great question. I know the clinics are working really diligently right now to get as many people tested as possible for these Christmas gatherings. And I'll tell you, all day today, we've been identifying positives, unfortunately, and people have been canceling parties. I will tell you, in this scenario, the most vulnerable are those 3 that are not vaccinated. Remember, we're not seeing a lot of people in the hospital setting who are severely ill who have been vaccinated. So your goal is really to protect those 3 people who are not vaccinated. The other 14 are fairly covered. They may get COVID, in close communication with others, but they're not going to get severely ill. So your job is to protect those 3, and that's where the testing comes in. If you can get tested today with a lab-based PCR for everyone, all 17, that would be optimal. Second choice would be a rapid PCR today or tomorrow, if you can, for any of those 3 participants and the other 14. And certainly, if you can't get any of that done, all 17 should be tested with an over-the-counter antigen test before that party, just to make sure those 3 people are going to be as safe as possible if you want to implement testing as a strategy, which we highly recommend if you're able to do that. Remember, the antigen and the rapid PCRs are not covered by most insurance companies, whereas the lab-based PCR is. But whatever you can do to make sure those 3 are going to be safe, please make sure you can do that. So mask utilization, social distance, not a lot, no hugging, close contact. You can't have any of that with those 3 people because they are very, very vulnerable still. Remember.
So there it is. I mean, this thing is still going to be with us. Factual breakdown. I disagree about the vaccine 100%. My friend told me on Christmas Eve that her friend, a 39-year-old male who had 2 jabs and the booster, was in the hospital in ICU with COVID. Well, I'm not a doctor. I can't explain why. Just believing sort of what I've been told that if you are vaccinated and you do get it, the symptoms are not as severe as if you were not vaccinated. Look, this is going to be with us for a while, and it's going to be with us going into 2022. And we're all adults here, and folks, you take what precautions that you think is most prudent for you. And I'm not telling anyone what to do. I'm just telling you what I did. I got vaccinated, and I got the booster, and I got the flu shot too. So I feel like a pincushion after all of this, But it's that's what's at right now. It's been with us now for 2 years, right? It's coming up on 2 years. It's Phil Grimaldi's in the chat. Philly, yes, us too, Lieutenant. So much food. Philly, that's my buddy Phil Grimaldi. I even had our I put our picture of us on the here he goes. This is the picture I had for the flyer today. That was a picture we had from our get together a while ago at Bordeaux on 46th Street with Joe Lisi, retired Captain Joe Lisi, great actor Joe Lisi was his place. We had a great time that night. Let me see you guys in the chat. I got some people from 90s E-Patriot. The script will flip in 2022, blaming Trump for failed vaccines, and the newest one-pill cure will be touted as Brandon's creation. We're getting political here. Factual breakdown. Do you know what brand vax your friend got who is now in ICU? So sorry. MC's Audio got vaccinated with the flu shot, going for the booster in February. Good, Mike. That's a good thing. North Florida, Gary, COVID, like anything else, affects different people differently. If you have underlying conditions, which I have, it's going to affect you more than it does others, but I do believe in the vaccine. Yeah, I mean, Eileen Taylor, hi, Bill, from Bonnie, Scotland. You take the high road and I'll take the low road, and I'll be in Scotland before ye. For me and my true love will never meet again on those bonny, bonny banks of Loch Lomond. Can come up with a song, can pull them out of my hat every once in a while. Zigzag Ground Zero. I was told I would be dead 2 years ago if I didn't wear the mask or take the shots. Ha ha ha! Mom got the shots and she's well and tested positive for COVID-19. Look, it's not 100% thing. I think that it's it's probably prudent that you get the shots. Duty Ron, here he is. Duty Ron, great to see you, buddy.
Hey, brother Bill. Thank you for the invite. I was prettying myself up when you sent me the message that you
certainly look pretty.
I took a shower and got a nice shave. I feel good. Hot shower. So thank you to everybody, all the true friends, the people who really care about me and Ed have sent hundreds of messages, including yourself. The Pranzos sent a basket, 1-800-BASKET, with a big sleigh, wrought iron like sleigh with so much little goodies on there. My son, who's not infected, was eating those before we touched them, and then once they got contaminated, they were off limits to him. But feeling good as to be expected, like the coughing, and as you was talking to everybody about, the nighttime is the worst because it's uncontrollable cough and you can't catch your breath. So there's no worse feeling than not being able to breathe, and that's why I drove myself to the hospital on Wednesday, because I couldn't stop coughing. So I said to myself, as a cop, I was like, I'm not going to wait until I'm on the floor. So I got enough energy up to drive, and I a couple of times had to pull over. And when I got to the hospital, they said there was nothing they could do for me. I waited 3 hours, and they told me go home and hydrate, take a decongestant, and that's it. So terrible.
How are you feeling today?
I feel better. Just out of the shower. I got 10 hours sleep. Coughing. The coughing was just in the beginning of my sleep, so I got past that, and I didn't wake up again. But I had to drug myself. I took Advil PM. I'm going to be honest. That was the only way that I would have slept 10 straight hours. So, but Ed Wallace is in the hospital right now as we speak. He's coughing up blood. He is in a really bad shape. He's in the hospital, and he said that they're telling him there's nothing they could do. They gave him a nebulizer, but again, he has pneumonia. He's got immune compromised. He has fought and battled cancer. Ed is in extreme trouble right now, and we're all praying for him. So the real Dutyron and Police Off the Cuff family, the people who really care about Ed and I know there's so many more that hasn't sent messages but really do care. We appreciate that love. Ed sent me, a string of messages this morning, and I told him to calm down because he was inside the hospital room and he was expressing his frustration to me. I said, brother, just stay calm, and whatever they tell you to do is what you got to do. So he was kind of fighting with them about his autoimmune diseases and things that he has going on. He wanted that the infusion, and they're refusing it. So,
I would think Duty Ronnie's got to be on some heavy duty antibiotics just to fight the pneumonia.
Yeah, he is. He gave me a whole list. I don't want to give out his complete list of what he gave me, but Ed definitely, he's still there. He hasn't answered me right before I clicked on the link. I figured let me get an update, but I will be going live as soon as you're done on my channel to give a full update with Ed and myself. So that's part of like some of the things that are uncontrollable. That coughing, it's dry and it's in your down in low in your lungs. So once it starts going, it's hard to stop it. And that's one of the worst symptoms that I experienced. My son, who's not vaccinated, he got the fevers, the body aches, the shivers, the loss of appetite, loss of smell, loss of taste. And he lost a lot of weight. You just played that piece where people are losing a lot of weight. So I'm not sure if he has this Omicron. I think he has the Delta variant, and my wife and I perhaps have the Omicron, but we're vaccinated. So I don't know. My youngest, fully vaccinated, he is, knock on wood, he's okay right now. So
how's your wife doing?
She said today, according to the CDC guidelines and Department of Health, that she's able to go out. It's day 10, but she said, I can't go out. I don't feel good enough. So you can't go by what these guidelines tell you. You have to go by what you're telling yourself, what your body's telling you. Like me, I feel good like during the day for a couple of hours, but then once it starts to get nighttime, I feel shitty all over again.
Yeah.
So,
and what's the duration supposed to be? 10 days or 12 days?
10 to 12. It used to be 15, 14 days or whatever. I think nobody really knows. I think they're just talking out their butts, because each individual body is going to fight it a different way. As I understood it, the doctor at the hospital told me, you are vaccinated and your body will start producing your own natural antibodies because of the vaccine and because of the response to the attack by this virus. But no two bodies are the same if they're fighting with reproducing all of the antibodies. So what my body does might not be what yours does or what my wife does. So I don't think that it's fair to put just a regular daily number on it. This could affect people for 3 weeks, could affect people for 2. I feel like $1,000,000 today, but I know once it starts to get dark and it's time to go to bed, I'm gonna feel like shit. And it's almost like your body knows, and it just starts getting this I'm on Mucinex. I take the albuterol spray, the pump to keep my lungs clear. We got that from the World Trade Center. I had a whole bunch of it on hand. Prior to COVID, I never really used it. It was just there as an emergency for asthma, um, and a whole bunch of cough prescription pills. That's it, Bill. You know,
Ron, you gotta, when you have stuff like this, you gotta treat yourself. You have to know your own body, and the doctor's not going to tell you. You got to say, "I'm taking this because I need this to give me this relief." And people like sometimes count too much on the doctor. Say, "Oh no, take this, take." You gotta treat your body according to how you feel at the specific time.
Hey, you see what your partner Philly Grimaldi put in the chat? He said you are contagious for 10 days after first symptoms. So here's something that completely refute that. Like my wife's on day 10 now, right? So she's still coughing, and if I was not sick and I was healthy, I wouldn't want to be around her with the cough that I hear. It's just like what you heard me do. So I'm on day 4 or 5, and she's got that same cough that I have. We have the same thing, same symptoms. So it's day 10. So technically, under what Phil just said, and that's the CDC guidelines, that's what the Department of Health, our contact tracing people that called us to say, "Oh, after 10 days, you could go out." I ain't going out and infecting some old person or some immune compromised person, even masked up. A cough, it comes out the side. I'm not doing that, But again, everybody has their own. I'm sure that there's infected people that just mask up and still go out. There's scumbags everywhere, Bill. So,
I remember when Joe Murray had it. He had it really bad. I mean, we were all worried whether he was going to live or not. He wasn't vaccinated, and it hit him like a tractor trailer. It just he had it for a while too.
Bill, who I was worried about as well. Of course, Joe Murray, we love him, but I was worried about Angela because Ange has lupus.
Yeah.
And she's in that apartment with him in their small place. And I was telling Ange, get out of there. And she's like, where am I going to go? I've just been around him for almost 8 days. I didn't get it.
And I love him. I love him so much.
I swear to God, they live in the next town over. I wanted to
we all love Joe Murray.
I wanted to go with my battering ram that I still have, from when I did the warrants. I wanted to bang in her door and grab her. Everybody on the ground. I wanted to grab her and take her out of there. But she's a stubborn, caregiver. And
she's got stubborn Irish through being with Joe,
Jeez Louise. Yeah. But yeah, I appreciate you inviting me. It was just
I'm so glad because it's good for people to see that you're getting better. You're going to be okay, and because this is a scary disease. It really is. And it's, and it's also, you suffer by yourself. If you could just have people, rooting for you and praying for you, it's a good thing,
And that's the great part about this YouTube community that we have, the cross-pollination. A lot of my subscribers are yours and vice versa. I'm home here with my whole entire family, the ones that I love most. I got my wife, my 2 kids. Now, my young Frankie, I felt bad for him. It made me cry because Christmas Eve and Christmas dinner and all the dinners he takes into his room. So we, like I said, well, we got this huge dining room table. Let's all stay at one side masked up and let him come out. We'll say a quick prayer and then we'll send him back in. And my wife didn't want to do that. She was like, I don't want to risk. That's, that's her youngest. So she's like, that's the baby. We're not going to let him get sick. So he's been in his room. His friends won't even have him over, and rightfully so. He can't go anywhere because he's around 3 COVID people, his family. So my son is who I feel the worst for. And I feel bad for the people who are sick and are alone. If someone's suffering from COVID and is alone, it's horrifying because there's nothing you could do. You just have to sit and wait and basically curl up into a little ball and moan. I watched my oldest son curled up in a ball in his bed, just moaning. And there's nothing you could do. You can't go over and say, "Oh, let me help you," because
right.
So the whole thing is up. So
it's a sad thing. I've seen people even on social media just decrying the fact that the one person I saw was a grandparent. I can't see my grandkids. I can't see my daughters. I can't see, and it's a bad thing because this is the time of year that everyone looks forward to getting together with family and loved ones and spending time, having a great meal, drinking some nice adult beverages, and just having a fun time. And many people couldn't do it this year.
Yeah, yeah. There's so many people in the chat. Bill Ryan's on Facebook. Hey, Billy. Gene Whitehead said a couple of things, and Pauline Buckets, Mrs. Duty Round's a protective lioness. She is a Leo, and that was a pretty good guess. She is a lioness. She's the Leo. That's her sign. But yeah, my wife is, she's got the Clorox disinfectant wipes and everything that we touch. We have a separate bathroom for him, but if we touch a knob, we touch the kitchen faucet, it gets cleaned. My son's, the same thing, my infected son. We're on like a real regimented cleaning thing here. We're trying to keep our youngest, Frankie, from getting sick. And if we could pull that off, it would be a miracle. But yeah, so thank you to everybody in the chat. I see, Crystal Champion, great friend, Lorna McKenzie, a great friend from the UK. Nurse Rojo, Richella Pranzo, thank you for sending over that basket. It meant a lot to me. And then I have a friend in Suffolk County. She's been following me since 2019 with the Michael Valva murder of his son, Thomas Valva. And that was January of 2020, right before COVID. So Gina sent me $150 on Facebook and said, Christmas Eve, she did this. She said, go and she did it during the day. Go and order your favorite Italian meal on me. And I couldn't believe it. The meal came out to $89 for the four of us. So she gave me extra pocket money. I think I'll have a drink with that later on with my wife when we get better. But Gina Scarborough, you know who you are. You're freaking awesome. Thank you. And all the cards and letters and emails for me and Ed. We got to pray for Ed Wallace because he is not. He's in the same situation that Joe Murray was in, but maybe even more dire. So I'm praying for Ed. He's my co-host. He's my best bud right now, and I want him to get better. And I want all of you guys to stay safe because this stuff is going around. It's no joke. It's not to be taken lightly. So do the best you can to protect yourself. And I know there's a lot of naysayers. There's a lot of people that follow you and I that feel like, I'm not getting the jab. I would never tell someone to go get a vaccine. I'm not that. When someone, as a matter of fact, if someone puts in my comment section, you go get the vaccine, like preaching, I get rid of that because I don't think it's fair for anybody to tell anybody to do what they're supposed to do to their body. I think like me, I never took you said you got a flu vaccine. I never got a flu vaccine in my life, and I never got the flu. So I'm 57 years old. I'm not against it, but I just say, why take it if I don't need it? I got a strong immune system. And I was the same way with COVID. And then you and I talked about this 100 times. I finally said, you know what? I'm 57. I got two beautiful kids. I'm not really looking to reproduce anymore. If it takes my gutso away, who cares? Fuck it. I'm just going to take it. So I took it as just because I'm not afraid to die. We worked for 20 plus years, me and you, getting shot at and having people wanting to kill us. So I'm not going to be running away from some vaccine. If I develop a third eye, I could see the back of my head, and then you can't fuck with me.
Look, I think it's good for everyone in the chat to see you that you're doing well and that you're on the road to recovery. And we hope your whole family gets better at about the same time so you guys can enjoy each other's company. But yeah, this virus is no joke. And unfortunately, it's going to be with us into 2022. And we hope maybe this will be the year that we can eradicate it because it's really, it's just a horror show,
You said it well, Bill, earlier, and I heard you say it in previous broadcasts. I really feel that everyone's going to get this. There's no escaping it. It's like death and taxes. You got your guy. You got the what's his name? Joe. What's his name? Joe Kane.
Joe Kane's my accountant.
I thought I was right. I didn't want to say his name. Hey, Joe. Props to you. Death and taxes. We're not going to escape those, right? I think COVID. You said it well. I think everyone's going to get it. We got to get the herd immunity. Got to get through it. And, it's the people who didn't make it that we have to think about, the millions of people who have been sick and who have died, going across the world. This isn't a United States problem. This is a worldwide problem, right?
Yeah.
And we have no solution to it. I wish there was a magic wand where we could just wave it and say, "Bad COVID person, go away. COVID monster, get out of here." But there's nothing there. We got to just deal, and dealing with it is everybody's choice. So I respect everyone's choice, and that I'll say that right now.
Andy the Gabby Cabby, thank you for the £5 super chat. He was on our show the other day. Hello, you two, and Merry Christmas to you also, Andy.
Sick.
Yeah, I guess he's probably driving that cab all around London, and
Yeah, listen, Andy, I don't wish you're a great guy. I don't wish anything bad on you, but you're taking people into your cab. That's a dangerous job. He's being exposed day in and day out, Bill. It's almost like being a public transit, a bus driver. You got guys and gals coming into your car. Some of them are a little hopped up on the juice, right? And they get in the car and they're effing around and things can get a little. But he does those airport runs. I heard him talk because I've been doing my homework on Andy because I'm going to have him on with me too. But he says that he's got those airport runs, which are they're not those blokes as they call them over there. They're good folks. So they come into the car. They want to go on a trip. So he's not doing the nighttime stuff that he did for the first 5 years. So he's like,
and he says he's at home today with a beer, so that's a good thing. He's not out there with the
home run.
He's not out there with the cab. I just remember, and since this whole COVID thing hit, I remember last April I had gotten my second vaccine. I got the Pfizer vaccine. I went to the Javits Center. It was a huge line, National Guard there, the whole thing.
I remember.
And getting an appointment was a big thing because because I was below the age, I had to claim comorbidities, which I had from the World Trade Center, and I was approved. And I just remember the feeling. We went away after we were all vaccinated. My family, we went to Fort Lauderdale, and it was as if that the COVID didn't exist in Florida. It was unbelievable. The restaurants were packed, the streets were packed. I was like, oh my God. And then we had a great dinner at an Italian restaurant that night. And the next day we left for Isla Morada in the Florida Keys. And I felt such a sense of freedom.
Yeah,
because I was locked in my house for like a year and a half. And I was just like, Bill, this is great,
Yeah, I remember that so well. You went with your boys to get that jab, and you guys went on that vacation. And like you said, it's like almost like you're freed from jail. Like the restrictions of staying. Listen, I'm going to be in my house come Tuesday, 7 days. I'm not that guy. I like to get out. I like to do things. I like to go and do stuff. And I haven't been out of my house almost 7 days. I'm climbing the walls. It's like, there's only so much sitting around you could do. I'm on here trying to make improvements to StreamYard and, getting updates. I'm harassing Josh. I can't get a hold of him. I'm sending out. I had the San Diego police go and knock on his door. I'm only kidding. But there's just almost so many things that you can do. And plus I'm weak. So I really can't even do the things that I want to do. But yeah, like getting out and getting free is really just an unbelievable feeling. We went to Aruba this year, right? We had to, show the vaccine card, get tested before we left, get tested before we go. But when I was in Aruba, I was like, oh man, this is looking good. It was June. And all of a sudden it just shit the bed, Yeah,
I wanted to, during this thing, I wanted to go to Italy. I've been there before. I went to Venice, and I went to some other places in Italy, but I wanted to go and maybe go to the the southern areas of Italy and Positano, maybe some of those places. And like right now, you can't even consider doing that. Like Israel locked down; they won't let people come in or out from the U.S.
Yeah.
So they're not even letting people, they're almost as a country locking it down,
Right. And a lot of their visitors do come from the US. So that was big for them to shut that down. And it's probably for a very good reason. I'm just sharing onto my community that I'm live with you. But yeah, Bill, this is, again, if you look at the news, and I hate to look at the news, I freaking hate the news. It's just nothing but doom and gloom. Around this time of the year as creators, we like to try to look to, quell mental health issues and anxiety for our subscribers and friends, right? So I kind of pump my brakes every year. You know, you and I have been at this for a while, so we try to pump the brakes and give some light stuff. But in light of what's going on, it's almost hard not to talk about this. And this is a major cause of anxiety for, I don't care what tough guys out there or gal that talks the game, Bill, you and I both know it's in the back of everyone's mind. When you come across somebody and they're coughing in public, we now look at them like, hey, the fuck why are you coughing on me? You know, or it's a whole different game. Like I carry my weapon around with me all the time, but now it's like people are killing each other over stupid things. No mask. I covered a story right in the midst of COVID. This was like June 2020. One of those 5 and dimes or like dollar stores in Chicago. It's a retired cop. He's doing security, and a lady comes in with her little kid, and the little kid didn't have a mask. I think she was 6 or 7. So it wasn't even a little kid, but it was, in between a baby, 5 to 10, whatever. He says to the lady, hey, she's got to put a mask on. It's store policy, not on me. And she was like, F you, I'm not going to do it. And the guy throws her out. So what does she do? She goes home and tells her husband. The husband and the son come back, and they call the guy outside. They ambush him. And the son, who's 25, shot him in the back of the head and killed him. Because he was enforcing a mask rule.
Yeah.
Retired cop lost his life.
This is like a different world we live in these days. It's just it's scary, It's really scary. Did you see those 2 Democrat senators that got carjacked? One in Pennsylvania, one in California. It's like it's poetic justice,
Don't make me laugh.
The defund the police get carjacked,
And the funny part is that you can check. I can bet my bottom dollar. I'll bet my pension on it that Congresswoman is now going to have armed security.
100%.
Very same liberal lefty that's saying, "Oh, we got to take everyone's guns away. We need more gun control laws."
Yeah.
And she's going to say, "Well, me and my husband, we just got carjacked. You got to give me a security detail."
Yeah.
I guarantee that's coming. But
Ron, my favorite expression, it was from back when we first came on the job, is the definition of a conservative is a liberal that just got mugged.
Yeah.
And it's so true, right? How people's politics change after that kind of event happens to you,
Correct. And it's easy to talk a good game about police reform and hands-off approach. But when it happens to those very people who talk about it, they have a contingent of officers and security outside their home, following them everywhere they go. So how ironic is that? And how it's just sickening to see it. And it happens. We see it all the time. It's disgusting.
Well, there was a guy also out in Chicago who was a groom, was getting married. He just went outside to get a little air, and he got robbed at gunpoint of his Rolex. It's not funny, but it's just like ironic. And then, you get the Beetlejuice mayor from Chicago now is calling for the feds to come in and help her with a crime problem. But she was a big defunder herself.
Yeah.
And she has the worst relationship probably in the nation of any mayor with their police department.
I'm sure she came out to stand up for Jesse Smollett.
Yes.
Smollett. Jesse Smollett, that whole thing. There were so many politicians and actors that were saying, "Oh, what a travesty of justice that was," and they threw the kitchen sink at it. Right? They had all these officers out investigating and investigators investigating a hoax. Right? And it was politically charged, obviously, without getting into that. But it's those very same people now are just silent. Where are they now when all of it comes out that it was just a hoax? So it's just crazy. It's just it's an insanity. But we have to look after each other. Getting back onto this COVID thing, we have to really look after each other because there's different levels of what everyone goes through. My immune system is not going to be like yours, Bill, and yours is not going to be like mine. So no 2 people go through the same thing. And I was really good yesterday. I made a members only video and I paid the price for it because I talked too long, just like I'm doing now. And I was on my ass, like to 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, I was exhausted. So you got to take it easy. If you're sick, take whatever mama's chicken soup and whatever they tell you to take. Me, I know what my body needs, and I do it. So I appreciate everybody, hanging out and coming on to these lives and supporting.
Duty Ron, in the chat is Pat Russo,
Hey, Pat.
who runs an amazing organization, New York City Kids in Boxing, and he takes kids out of the housing projects, and he
I saw him. He's great.
he diverts them into become real. Some of them, one of them is an Olympian, great boxers, and he spends all his off-duty time. And he just said, I tested positive last week. I was fortunate enough to get the monoclonal antibody drip, prednisone, and an antibiotic the same day. I was good in 36 hours. That's unbelievable.
Yeah,
right?
that's steroids. So he got steroids, antibiotics, and the antibodies. So he must have had some type of underlining. Like for me, I was denied it. So was Ed Wallace today. If you don't have like diabetes or some type of autoimmune disease or something, there's certain criteria, and I didn't fall within that criteria.
I think, Duty Run, you have to tip the head nurse. You have to have a fistful of hundreds when you go into the hospital. You have to hit off the head nurse to get that.
Seems that way, but I gotta, they were referring you to outside clinic, so I looked up the outside clinic. So that same drip that Pat's talking about was between $999 and $1,499. So you can go and pay for it. So if you're wealthy, which I'm sure he's not, if you're wealthy, you can go and get it, and they'll give it to you.
No, Pat's got mad money.
Oh, then maybe
I'm just kidding.
Maybe
no, but I mean there's
hell no.
There's the answer there. It costs almost $1,000. They don't want to give you it because
So
Pat Russo says he had his primary care doctor's cell phone number. That's how he got that,
All right. So we got a recommendation. Listen, my niece is a nurse at the hospital I went to, and there was nothing that she could do. So, and I even text her, I reached out to my hook, and there was nothing that they could do because it's a state regulation. They put out this regulation because they're trying to keep it. They were hoarding the drip for the people who really need it the most, and that I understood. I completely understood it. I was like, hey, there's immunocompromised people. There's people who are much sicker than I am health-wise, right? I take multivitamins every day. That's the only medicine that I take. I don't take anything. So I was like, I yield to the more sick. I'll go home and fight this. So
yeah, I mean that's the argument that the people that want to force vaccines have. They say that you're going to just get other people sick by not complying with the vaccine.
Yeah, why don't you pool one time? You don't have to do it now, but pool your audience and see how many people are for this vaccine and how many are against. And I swear I'm going to do it. I know it's a mix. There's still a lot of people that do not want to take it. I have people in my own family. I got my own son, but he's going to take it now because he got sick. But I find that the people who get really deathly ill and sick, then they talk a whole nother game. They talk a lot of game prior.
Well, let's do it right now. For those pro-vaccine, put a 1 in the chat. Those against forcibly getting the vaccine, put a 2 in the chat. Don't intimidate them.
I'm trying to help out, Bill. So Nurse Rojo Pro.
Joe. There's a Ryan Investigative Group. He's against it. Sandra H.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of twos.
No, there's some diversity in the voting here. Joe Reek, good to see you, Joe. I like that the pictures you put up on Facebook of you as a sergeant in the 17th precinct back in the 90s.
You know what? I respect everybody who is a number 2 here. Because, again, your body, your choice. That's how I feel. No government should be telling anybody that you have to take this vaccine. That I'm dead against. That I will say. Right. You have a choice. So. Anyway.
Ronnie, just so you know, we're at 45 minutes. I usually don't like to go this long.
Good. Because you were too. So
right, because you were here with me, and you're a damn good talker. We went to 45 minutes, and we hit 45 minutes without even knowing it. You
just teased all these people with the number 1 and number 2s, and now you're just going to cut it off.
Well, what am I supposed to do, though? There's a lot of 2s in there. There's a lot of 2s.
Yeah.
But we'll have to have this discussion at another time. But Ron, I hope you and your family get better quickly. I can see that you're feeling a little bit better today. Each day you'll get better and better. And folks in the chat, make sure you all say a prayer for Ed Wallace.
Yeah.
And for anyone else, your family members that may contract this horrible disease.
Right.
Any last words, Ron?
Hey, I just want to say thank you to everybody, all of the good friends of Crime Time with Duty Ron and Police Off the Cuff. You guys are awesome. That's what makes these crime communities great, is people like you in the chat here. The folks who reached out to me and Bill, and anytime that there's any type of things going on with us, we appreciate it 100%. And we know who you guys are. We know all the great ones, and it's hard for us to, if we don't respond to you all, don't get insulted by it. We love and respect everybody. Bill does a great job of working all the cases that he brings you with compassion and a lot of energy. So kudos to you, Bill, for the great work you're doing on your channel. Thank you for having me come on here. And I'm going to be live probably in about another 30 minutes. I'll schedule a little live update for Ed, and we'll talk about it later on in the afternoon. So thank you, Bill, and God bless all you guys. I hope everyone had a great Christmas.
Great to see you, Ron. Folks, thank you so much for tuning in today. And look, the holidays aren't over. Let's still have a good time. We're healthy, feeling good. Let's still have a great New Year's and New Year's Eve and bring in the year with a bang.
Absolutely.
A healthy bang.
Yeah. Hold on. Here's a bang.
I can't compete with a guy with all these sound effects.
You'll get there one day, Bill. Just hang out with me. I'll get you there.
All right, man. Everyone have a great day.
Peace, people.
I know.